The Girl Between Two Worlds by Scarlett Eva Williams. Chapter 9. Temptation. When we moved to Suzdal, my mother bought a very beautiful house. It was a 2-story house covered with white siding. From the outside, it looked like a picture from a magazine. Inside, everything was finished with wood, and the house smelled of fresh boards and resin. The yard was large and triangular. Tall pine trees grew all around it. Nearby stood a beautiful wooden bathhouse with all the comforts. Below, behind the trees, a small river flowed. In the distance, you could see the monastery walls and domes. In summer, the place looked almost like a fairy tale. Guests from Moscow often came to visit us. They sat on the veranda, drank tea, and admired the view. My mother was proud of the house. Inside, everything was modern and comfortable. A large living room connected to the kitchen, 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. On the first floor, there was even a jacuzzi, and on the second floor, a bidet, but the money ran out very quickly. The house turned out to be beautiful but not suitable for winter. We had electric heating and gas was supposed to be installed later. But the first winter showed that the house could not keep the heat. We began to freeze. Cold wind came through cracks in the walls and roof. The floors became icy. Friends bought us a cast iron stove that had to be heated with firewood. When the stove burned, the house became warm and cozy. The wooden walls warmed up and the air filled with the smell of smoke and resin. But the stove devoured firewood quickly, and the firewood cost money we did not have. Sometimes the monastery gave us wood, but it was never enough. One day, my mother even burned our books in the stove. It was a difficult winter. My mother had never lived in the countryside before and did not know how to use the stove properly. One night, something happened that could have ended in tragedy. I woke up with a strange feeling. It was hard to breathe in the house. The air was full of thick smoke. My mother was sleeping. Something in the stove had been closed incorrectly and the smoke filled the entire house. We could have suffocated in our sleep. I started shouting. My mother woke up immediately and opened the windows and doors. Cold winter air rushed into the house. Slowly the smoke disappeared. We could have died that night, but fate passed us by again. That same winter, another misfortune happened. We had a cat, a beautiful white pedigree cat named Vasya. But we had almost no money. A neighbor once gave us a bag of chicken heads that she used to feed her yard cats. Our elegant Vasya was not used to such food. He developed a twisted intestine. Before dying, he jumped onto the table and cried loudly as if calling for help. He needed to be taken to a veterinary clinic urgently, but my mother had neither money nor strength, and Vasya died. The ground was frozen solid. My mother tried to bury him under the snow near a tree by the road, planning to bury him properly later when the ground thawed. But the neighbors saw it and threw the bag with the cat back to our door. My mother had to take him to the monastery dump. We all felt very sorry for Vasya. Meanwhile, my life continued almost the same. My mother tried to feed me normally, soup, main dishes, compote, but I hardly ate any of it. I loved only simple things: spring water, fresh cucumbers, and bread. Sometimes I ate children's cottage cheese snacks because they were advertised on television. And chocolate bars. That was my food. Sometimes I brought home a friend, a tall, thin girl with glasses named Katya. I opened the refrigerator and treated her to everything I could find. She was always hungry. Later, I learned she had been adopted from an orphanage into a strict old believer family. People often looked at me and sighed. What will happen when she goes to school? They asked. Schools prefer quiet and obedient girls, but I was different, bold, free, disobedient. But, as my mother said, very kind. In the evenings, my mother and I slept together in a large bedroom on the second floor. Before bed, she read me the lives of the saints. I fell asleep quickly. Sometimes, when I was getting sick, my mother hugged me tightly and told me how much she loved me. We fell asleep embracing, and in the morning, I woke up completely healthy. My mother's love healed me. Gradually, my mother began renting out the bathhouse on our property. A family from the Ural region moved in. a mother, a small boy, and his grandmother, but soon something happened that changed everything. One day we went to a women's monastery in a neighboring town. My mother drove Father Innocenti there to serve the liturgy. We arrived early in the morning. During the service, a group of girls entered the church. They were dressed the same, long black dresses with belts, white collars, and white headscarves. They stood in a straight line and quietly sang during the service. My mother watched them with admiration. After the service, she learned that they were pupils of the monastery orphanage. There was an Orthodox gymnasium there where the girls studied and even learned music. At that moment, my mother had already been thinking about my future school. After Moscow, she did not want me to attend an ordinary provincial school. And suddenly, everything came together. My mother decided she wanted to enter the monastery. She hoped it would heal her pain and depression, and at the same time give her daughter a safe life. She took me to an elder in Optina monastery and asked for a blessing for monastic life. But the elder first looked at me. Then he said, "Let the girl go to the orphanage. Let her finish school there." Then he added, "And you will be there with her." My mother thought she was going to the monastery alone, but it turned out that everything began with me. At that time, I understood nothing. I continued to run and play. But just before the monastery, there was one more trial. One day, my mother went to the monastery to ask the abbess for a blessing. She wanted to take me with her, but I refused because I wanted to play with the boys. My mother left me near the house, thinking I would stay with the family from the Urals who lived in our bathhouse. She left. When she returned, it was already night. She ran to the bathhouse. "Where's Esther?" "She came here and then left." My mother ran into the dark street calling my name and praying. She was almost mad with fear. Finally, she reached the boys' house. Their grandmother opened the door. "She is here." My mother later said she had never experienced such fear in her life, the fear of losing her child. A few weeks later, we entered the monastery gates. The bells were ringing, and in the church they were singing, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill among men." And that was how a new life began. Chapter 10. My first year at school. When I first started school in the monastery orphanage, I did not suffer much. During the first year, everything felt new, unusual, and even a little magical. We lived in a huge old palace. Sometimes it felt as if we were little princesses living there. On the first floor was our Orthodox gymnasium where we studied. There was a large dining hall for guests, nuns, and us during big holidays. On ordinary days, we had a separate dining room where we all ate together. There was even a small corner with animals. We had a costume room where we changed clothes before meals. The large dining hall had a piano and music equipment. Our living quarters were separate. There were small bedrooms with 4 girls in each room. The 5th person in the room was a nun who supervised us. Each room had its own bathroom. We also had a small house church where we gathered for morning and evening prayers. All of this seemed interesting to me. At first, I saw monastery life almost like a game. Even when I was punished, deprived of sweets or forbidden from holidays, I did not take it too seriously. My suffering accumulated slowly. But during the first year, everything still felt almost fun. I remember one moment very clearly. Sometimes my mother passed near our building while doing her monastery duties. And I stood at the window on the 2nd floor and shouted to her, "Mom, I'm praying for you. I'm reading the prayer to St. Nicholas." At that time, my mother was tempted to leave the monastery, and I prayed for her. During the first 3 days after we arrived, my mother slept in my room together with 4 girls and our caretaker. But later she was moved to another room, and then she was transferred to the part of the monastery where the nuns and novices lived. We began to see each other much less, only with permission. Since most of the girls were orphans, my mother was not often allowed to visit me. When school began, it was interesting at first, but about 2 weeks later I suddenly decided I'm tired of playing school, and I stopped studying. I received only failing grades. Teachers tried to persuade me, the school director spoke to me, the nuns tried to explain, but nothing worked. I did not understand the word must. I only understood want or don't want, and I always did only what I wanted. This lasted almost half a year. By the end of the first term, I had only failing grades. Everyone thought I would have to repeat the year. My caretaker once said to my mother, "She dances like an angel. The ballet teacher says she has great talent for dance, but in school, only failing grades." My mother began praying to Saint Sergius of Radonești. One day, something strange happened. I was walking along the monastery path and suddenly saw a medallion of Saint Sergius lying on the ground. I picked it up, they placed it on a chain around my neck, and suddenly a thought appeared in my mind. What if studying became a competition, a game? In games, I liked one rule: catch up, overtake, be first. That was a game I understood. So I began to study. I decided I would receive only the highest marks. It became a new rule of the game, and gradually everything changed. In the end, I finished school with a gold medal, but before that happened, there would be many punishments, many illnesses, and many tears. I will tell that story in the next book.